Now let's talk about periods. Remember, a period is like a complete cycle. So here is showing you a period. You can take it from any point in time, but you just have to have a complete cycle. So for a wave, that would mean the wave goes down all the way back up to its highest point and then starts going down to the same value. Or you could go from highest point to the next highest point, lowest point to the next lowest point. That's how you would get a full cycle. So if you pick any spot, you have to get to that same spot on the opposite. So look, we are right now going, if you will, down the hill, and we are just a little bit above the x-axis. So I'd go over here, down the hill, just a little bit above the x-axis. That would be one full period. How you get the period is you go to the inside. Now notice what values they are. They start with 2 pi, because every function starts with a 2 pi. That would be a complete circle if you think about the unit circle. 2 pi is all the way around. So it starts with 2 pi, but you divide it by the absolute value of b. b is in the place of a horizontal stretch or shrink. So that's where you look here. So remember, this is amplitude. That's the height, depth. This right here, the vertical stretch or shrink, is changing how long or how short the period is. These two, just to go ahead and tell you, will be shifts as well, just like normal. So you shift it left or right or up and down if it's on the outside. Okay, so here we go. Cosine. Now remember, this hits the highest point is on the y-axis. It's going to hit on the y-axis at the value of 1. It will not go through the origin. What's happened here? Well, we're dividing that by 8. That means the b is basically 1/8 x. Okay, so another way you could write g of x is you could write it as cosine of 1/8 x. So here, the amplitude is going to be the same. Notice they both have an amplitude of 1. So I'll put that, because we've been doing that. I don't want to forget it. The amplitude equals 1. But the period, how we'll get the period, is we'll say you always start with 2 pi, and you divide it by the absolute value of the b, which in this case is just 1/8. Now this is a fraction divided by a fraction. To solve that, what you do is you take your numerator and you leave it, but instead of dividing by the denominator, you flip it and multiply by the reciprocal. So what's the reciprocal of 1/8? It would be 8 over 1. So if you multiply that, it'll be 16 pi. That should be my period. That means it takes 16 pi to complete one whole cycle. Now as you look, the blue is the normal. It completes a cycle without, it had no transformation. So this one would complete the cycle, the blue, every 2 pi. If you look, starting from a high point, the next high point would occur at 2 pi. This one would be 4 pi. This is 6, 8, 10, 12, so on and so forth. Well, from this high point, it would take all the way to 16 pi before we complete the full cycle. Notice this is 8, this is 12, this would be 16. So we did do it correctly. That is, in fact, my period right there. Now you can go ahead and try this one.